Path Solutions has over 2 decades of experience building network monitoring systems designed to give you total network visibility. TotalView's automation means it can be fully deployed and configured in minutes, monitoring every device, interface, and server in your entire infrastructure. And it goes deep, collecting performance, configuration, 19 different error counters, PoE, and QoS statistics on every single interface. Now, all of this information is automatically analyzed to produce plain English answers. Problems get solved faster because more information and intelligence is brought to bear. This is what total network visibility is all about, knowing more about your network than with any other solution. TotalView is easy to acquire, as everything is included in the core offering: NetFlow, diagramming, path mapping, server monitoring, network automation, IPAM, cloud service monitoring, and more. Putting your trust in a monitoring system can require a leap of faith. From inception, TotalView has a more secure architecture and build process that helps to protect their customers. Contact Path Solutions today, where you can learn more about their competitive upgrade program, Total Network Visibility, rapidly deployed. Find out more at www.pathsolutions.com. Tony.
Hey, Jordan.
How are you, man?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
It's been a week. I'm like, I think last week you told me you're like, I just kind of want to sit back and watch you do the show. I'm feeling that right now. Yeah. It's like, Tony, man, you could run with this one because I'm feeling a little bit pressed. But no, I'm good. I'm good. Work has been busy and life has been busy, and we've been doing a lot with Network Collective. So it's just been a lot of just, one after another. And every week, it doesn't seem to matter how early I start. It is right down to the wire to getting everything ready to go for this, like getting something rolling, like as we're streaming already. So,
yep. So, yep. In case you guys don't know, I know this appears to be an extremely well rehearsed and polished show, but almost every time it comes down to the wire where we have the pre-stream running and we realize, oh crap, we need to restart a computer. Yeah, which happened tonight, and it was my computer, so it was okay. But yeah, every time it is a near fail, and yet we succeed every time. That's a testament to the effort we put in. That's all.
It's fly by wire, man. Just got to get it done as we do it. Like, I'm literally getting things together as I'm sitting here talking to you right now. So,
yeah. And it doesn't help that I hit you with curveballs right before the show. Like, oh, hey, Jordan, you don't mind adding this to the show run, do you? Oh, no problem. Yeah, we'll put it in twice, and
we'll make that happen, and all of that. So anyway, but no, things are good, man. So you been up to anything interesting at work?
Actually, I'm not working this week.
Oh, then
I have Typically, I have childcare. 24/7, not 24/7, but all the time. And this week I don't have childcare, so I am running daddy daycare for 3 kids. Nice. And homeschool and everything. So yeah, I'm not doing much at work. I think I had to submit timesheets for a couple of guys that I managed, and that's about it. Actually, I think tomorrow I have to be on a call, so I have to schedule that in. But I have to be on a call for a little bit. And Friday I have also another meeting. So even when I'm off, I have no problem working. I can never cut ties with work. That's
so you're one of those people that doesn't understand what time off means?
Yep, that's me.
So
yep.
That's actually one of my. I won't call it. It's not an annoyance, but I think it's one of those things that you have to learn. So Tony, I'm telling you right now, you have to learn how to actually disconnect. You have to leave work. It has to because eventually there's a while, right? Like it's okay for a while, but eventually it starts to get at you when you realize that you really haven't taken a break. And the thing is about taking breaks is you become better at what you do. You become more productive. And I don't even think people know it, that they run themselves into the ground. So Tony, you should take a break. Even if you're working on other stuff, you should take a break. The other thing is there's good research that says that you really should take a break. So we talk about our security stuff, like when I worked in banking, I think we talked about this recently with somebody, and I forget where and how. It's on one of our podcasts that have come out or a live stream. But I worked in banking. We had to take you had to take 2 weeks off because if you didn't take 2 weeks, it was a great way to find fraud. You can keep all the balls in the air so long as you're working every single day. But if you don't take that bulk of time off, that's when they really find out when something's going on that's a little bit sideways. I worked in technology, so my chance of actually doing fraud was very, very low. But I still had to take it just like everybody else. And so, anyway, that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I know, but actually, I don't know. I mean, this could definitely bleed into a much deeper talk, and this is what wasn't our intention today, but I kind of feel the other way. There's something to be said about like the idle hand syndrome. The devil finds idle hands, and I feel like when you take time off, I don't know, it sort of opens the window for your mind to do other things that aren't necessarily productive. I don't know how to put it.
Man,
but
this is a dangerous avenue we're going down. Your worth, your value is not measured by your productivity. You don't have to be productive every single day.
But you have to know that I'm not trying to work every day for my company. I'm working every day for me, to keep like myself sane, to keep myself busy, to keep me focused. Because if I don't, then it's not a good thing for me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's fine for my work. They could go without me for 2 weeks, just fine. I could take my 2 weeks off. It'd be no problem. But for me, like if I took 2 weeks off, I'm getting into some trouble. I might never come back.
If I took 2 weeks off, I just work on something else, but at least it's a change of pace. You know what I'm saying? If I had 2 weeks off, I'd be working on Network Collective. That's what I'd be working on, is trying to use that time for this. Yeah. So,
I mean, at the pace we've been running lately, which is a good pace. It's certainly come at the right time, but yeah, this could be a full-time job.
It certainly could. It certainly could.
It wouldn't pay the bills, but we could certainly put 40 hours into it every week.
Wait, you're not putting 40 hours into it?
Right.
Yep. Right. Yes. No, I'm not either, but it's close enough. So I'm trying to think if there was anything interesting going on for me at work. I've been talking lots and lots of Cloud Overlay and lots of SASE. So we actually have a show coming up on SASE that we'll be talking about that, like a regular podcast recording. Mm-hmm. It's coming up soon. But it has just exploded. I think it's because of the remote access component. Everyone kind of moving out. Now everyone realizing that, hey, wait a minute, this is going to last probably a little while. And so new security postures, new traffic patterns, that kind of stuff. It's been interesting. And so, yeah, all my time's been around that, and the stuff I was working on around, Aviatrix, Akira, that type of Cloud Overlay. And so just plodding along. Donald Sharp says he's sassy. I need to get that on the screen just to make sure that everybody can see it. Yes, Donald Sharp, you are sassy. No doubt about it.
Oh man, I needed that headshot. I should have grabbed that headshot.
The headshot?
Donald's headshot. That's a good one. But yeah, there's been some interesting things coming out in the news. Now, admittedly, I've been with 3 kids all day and didn't do some deep research like I intended to. But I did see 2 new headlines of recently was another Palo Alto Networks acquisition. And then I saw some. Yeah, it's like $150 million. Yeah, okay. Palo Alto Networks did an acquisition on a DevOps company. About secure code processes and stuff like that. I never heard of this company before. I guess if anyone's in the chat can knowledge, that'd be great. I had never heard of the company, so it was new to me. And secondly, Microsoft Azure has this this like next gen firewall that they're doing virtually at the edge of their cloud boundaries. And I think that's something that's super cool. Okay, we're not talking about just doing like 4-tuple blocking like you would get on the edge of like Google Cloud Platform. And I don't actually know how deep or what features AWS has on the edge of their cloud, but we're talking deep packet inspection, IDS, IPS. We're talking break and inspect TLS if you want it. And these are all features you can turn on and off. And what's really cool about it, the way that the article reads anyhow, I haven't used it firsthand, is you can build these policies and they can sort of apply to everywhere that boundary exists. So whether it's in between the internet and applications that you're hosting in there, or if you have a direct connect that goes from like an on-prem data center over to Azure, you can apply that same policy to that traffic as well. And I assume it can also your remote offices. It can also handle that as well. So I think that's pretty cool as a cloud offering to unify policy. This is something we talked about recently, unifying policy, but also offering more than just block or deny these subnets. Actually doing real next-gen firewall stuff, which has kind of become table stakes for everyone in the security game now.
Right, and we haven't seen a ton of that from a native cloud construct. So that is interesting. I'll have to do some research on that because I hadn't caught that either. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. Now I know you said that was for Azure, correct?
Yeah, that was Azure, and I think that was yesterday or today. I saw that, and it wasn't a real deep article. In fact, it was a bit shallow. But I was just reading into it as sort of what that opens up the possibilities, and I'm like, wow, okay, now if we can just pipe everything to Azure and let them be essentially what our network boundary is. Like now I don't have to maintain my network boundary here unless I'm doing direct to internet. I'll just send it all to Azure anyways. And it just, again, like we were talking recently about how the culture of sort of work from home might be changing the network topologies as we know it, the traditional network topologies, from what we know as the campus. If no one's working at the office, then we don't have a campus. And that network topology is different, yet all those employees still need access to their cloud, still need VPN, still need their local drive shares, still need all of that stuff, and still need all of the protections that come from a next-gen firewall.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether adopting that at the cloud edge makes a lot of sense or if adopting it more in the SASE model makes sense, right? So, I mean, that's where SASE is coming in and saying, hey, we can provide you, next gen firewall features and then some on top of it, zero trust. We can talk about all kinds of different components. And I won't get into the whole spiel here, but we can offer that as a cloud service, but not necessarily tied to a cloud provider, meaning that you can go out, a big player in this space is like Zscaler. You can go out to Zscaler and buy their service, send your traffic to them, and they're going to scrub it with all of these different types of tools that you would typically have within your network. But their stuff is more adjacent to you, and then it can go anywhere. You go straight to the internet, or you can go to the cloud, or you can go to another branch. Like there's lots of different options. I wonder what Azure's doing and whether it makes sense to have your next gen firewall in that spot. I think it makes sense if you're already like a big next gen firewall and you have a user on-prem and you kind of been lacking when it came to your cloud and whether or not you were securing traffic that way in and out of your cloud. It is also interesting to see that, where they can do it on their express route stuff. Because if that's the case, I could definitely see it on the internet ingress egress, but then express route's a little more complicated. So yeah. That's interesting. You just gave me a couple more things that I have to go research. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, that's okay. That was about the depth of research that I was able to do today, was like read like one or two, top of the headline news articles, but I didn't get to do a deep dive on something that we were hoping to research, you and I. So I fell short there, but at least I scooped up two fresh stories. I think
we'll talk about that
were very cool and interesting.
A little bit, and we might put a pin in it to talk about it in depth, though. And that is, we are this week. Bloomberg doubled down on their Supermicro chip implant, China spying on everybody with rice-sized chips on motherboards story. And this is fascinating to me. And the reason why it's fascinating to me is because the first time this happened, the first story, which came out in 2018, the first time the story came out, and it was a big deal, there were a ton of people who would know, who should know, who came out and said it's absolutely bogus. And so when I talk about that list, one of them is Apple. And Apple, who was a big Supermicro user, and part of the catalyst for the whole article was the fact that they had abandoned their relationship with Supermicro. And Apple says they did it for other reasons, and Bloomberg attributed it to this. Apple came out and not only said it didn't happen, but they wrote a letter to Congress. So like there's now like, you know, potential liability issues if that letter isn't accurate, saying that no, it straight up didn't happen. We have no evidence. Like, don't use us in the story. And then we saw all kinds of agencies, Homeland Security. We saw the NSA come out and say, no, it's not true. Like we saw GCHQ, we saw like all kinds of different entities. And of course, Supermicro came out and denied it and said it's absolutely not true. Supermicro went out and got a third party company to audit their equipment, and they said it didn't happen. And so I think most of us are sitting here thinking that this thing has been thoroughly debunked. Like it was just whatever. Now, for whatever reason, Bloomberg did not retract their story. It didn't, you know, they didn't pull it back in any way, shape, or form. They kind of dug their heels in. And I think everyone just kind of moved on thinking that, okay, like we're not going to get a retraction. It's just going to, you know, fall into the ether. And here we are. It's 2021. We're 2.5 years later, and now they've doubled down on it. So the question to me, though, the reason why this is fascinating to me is why? Right? It is why. So why would you double down on it? So let's just, you know, assume that they were wrong, right? Assume that they were wrong. They got the story wrong, either intentionally or unintentionally. I don't care, right? But for whatever reason they were wrong, and you had all these people come out and say that they were wrong. Why in the world would you post another story doubling down? Like at this point, whatever damage is done is done. You're not going to like recoup any of it if it was wrong. So it doesn't make any sense. And so if there really is a proper motivation here, were we taken by Apple, NSA, DHS, GCHQ, all of these agencies who came out as Supermicro, the third-party auditing firm? Like, were we taken by all of them? Was this like some, you know, strategic, coordinated denial so that it would continue? Because that's the allegation in the story, this new one. The allegation is that
Illuminati.
Exactly. Okay. That's the way that it feels. That is absolutely the way that it feels. Like the allegation in this one is that the DoD didn't want to stop it, so they continue to try to discover what China was up to. And that's
look, that is a very often used strategy, right?
Course.
When you find a problem, you know, especially if you find like a C2 channel in network traffic. You don't just go block that. You sit and watch it. Now you're watching that thing. You're watching it to see where it's going. How often is it? Who else is talking to it? There's a lot of information. You have to keep it alive. And so there's a lot of truth to that strategy. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So when you say why, there's a lot of technical people that have much greater authority than me that have worked on debunking the original story, right? And this we've all seen those articles and everything, and I'm a reader, happy reader of it. When I think about why did they do it again, I must think about that this is not like well, we have more proof now. Although that's kind of how the article starts to read. It's another many page article, and it starts to read like that. We've had over 50 confirmations from different agencies and people and this and that. But I'm wondering if this is just like some sort of like inexperienced editor, where like someone is like, you know what, I found even more sources, and they're like, run it. You know, what the hell? You know, like they're just like, they're not taking professionalism and like accountability of concern. I feel like they're just making decisions and rolling with it, because did they think that the same people weren't going to go after them again, you know, and try to uncover every kernel of truth and sort of unstitch this sort of tapestry that they've woven? Because that's what they've kind of done. They've sort of taken pieces of facts from many different things and sort of woven them together into sort of own story.
I agree with that.
They've made their own narrative out of what could happen, and I think that's what I struggle with, and that's what I'm kind of angry at. Is you're talking about things that, while technically could happen, that doesn't mean they have, and that doesn't make them truth. While these things can happen, that doesn't mean they have. In
most of their sources, I mean, when you look at them, and I think this is one of those things in being a critical reader of stories like this, like you have to look at their sources, because you're right. The narrative that they're spinning, there's no doubt that they're trying to show like that there's a lot of people who are all saying the same thing. But if you read it critically, that's not what the article says. Right? Because I think the article is actually factual. They're trying to weave an overarching narrative beyond the specific words in the article to paint a picture for you. And that is that there are 50 people out there who are saying this happened, which is not the case. What we have is 50 people who have either said it could happen. There are a small number, and I think the number is like 3 to 5 or something like that, who claim to have gotten a briefing from a federal agency about this specific thing. So it's not the person who found it. It's not the person who was responsible inside of the agency for delivering this supposed message to these, contracting agencies. It was not any of the people who were directly tied to it. We're seeing like 3 and 4 degrees of separation. And those sources have maybe some competing interests, right? Some possible interest of being involved in the story. All of a sudden, their name and their agency, which is a federal consulting, looks better because they were on the tip of the spear of this big thing that's coming down. Now, the other side of that is being involved with something that's a big fraud is probably not the best look, but we'll see how that plays out. And so really, there's a lot of sources that all say they've heard something down the line, 3 or 4 generations removed from the actual source. And there's a lot of people who were interviewed who were saying that something like this could be possible, right? And talking about the theory, but not whether or not Supermicro was actually doing this. And the reason why I still think that there's probably not a whole lot of backing for this actual story is what happened when all the Snowden leaks came out, right? What happened is every other paper, so it came out in The Guardian originally, every other paper corroborated. They went and found their own sources or took those sources and tried to confirm them. And so you had stories out of the New York Times, you had stories out of, out of papers out of Washington, D.C., at other major capitals, big papers that were doing confirming stories that go out to go out and add to the narrative of what came out in the original story. Nothing. Dead silence. Over 2 years and not one confirming story. And we have a bunch of denials, but nothing that supports it. Nothing from the press, who would absolutely love to be in on this, right? Like, this is a big salacious headline. Who wouldn't want to be in on this? And nothing, just dead silence. We've had people if this was really going on at this point, how good are the chips if they're not actually sending the data? I'm sure there's some people who've been watching very, very, very closely their Supermicro servers. They're not coming out saying, hey, wait, that Bloomberg thing? We're starting to see some sketchy stuff that's going off to these servers in the cloud somewhere. Nothing. And yep. You would think that if it were true and other people didn't know, it would filter out slowly. And I think it's garbage. It's either that or we are, like you said, part of like one of the best Illuminati conspiracy cover-ups that we've seen in a very, very long time. And I'm Occam's razor guy. The simpler answer is usually the right answer. So I don't want to dive too deep into the conspiracy world. I've got plenty of that around me. And 50 people, just another commentary, just kind of like my own observation, like looking at this, 50 people, there's a lot more than that of people who believe in absolutely random crazy stuff, who would be happy to sell it as truth to papers. Just look at the American political system right now. There's a lot of people who believe a lot of things that simply aren't true. But man, they really do believe they are true, and they do like talking about it, right? And so I can see how these things can kind of get some legs. So I'm now reading the comments. You should never read the comments. So that's what they want you to think, that it's all a lie. See,
one of the things that, again, like you said, this is something that I've asked for is, where's the proof? I mean, if we just take a look at the SolarWinds hack, which we spent many weeks sort of constantly unfolding, right? When there's a real compromise, there's proof out there, and it becomes shared. It becomes shared knowledge. There's so many researchers focus their attention on it.
Yep.
And with this story, you would imagine that so many researchers would focus their attention on this problem and start producing real evidence for us to look at and observe and sort of, discover what's going on. And I haven't seen like one PCAP. Not one PCAP, not one IP address, not one domain. Like there's nothing.
I think we just discovered something. So Kevin Meyer says all of his super microservers have stable tunnels to China. There's nothing to see here.
All of the super microservers route to Kevin's network and then to China. That's why.
Is that what it is? Jeremy also has some solid opinions on this. The infographics were professional. The sourcing was not. I tend to agree with that completely. He also says it's about sowing doubts. And so yeah, it is a very interesting story. It's fascinating because I don't know that we've ever seen, if this really is them just doubling down on a bad story, I don't know that I've ever seen it like this before. I've seen bad stories before, but I've never seen someone double down on it. Usually once you get caught, you run with your tail between your legs. You either retract or just ignore it and move on. And Scott Hamilton says, hold on while I go find my tinfoil hat. No one knew they had to come ready for the conspiracy theories tonight.
The last thing I'll finish on, and one of the reasons why this is a really important story to find out if there's truth on it, is so many vendors white box their super micro servers.
Oh yeah.
That white box them and just put faceplates on them or stickers at minimum. I mean, big name vendors that you would pay, hundreds of thousands of dollars for equipment is really a super micro server with a custom Linux OS and a new faceplate. So if there's truth to this story, it needs to be found. We need to get to the real root of it, if there is anything more to it, because I think there's a lot of vendors, security vendors, who are now having, potentially compromised servers. And that's why I think, look, some of the best security research comes from some of these companies, agencies, and organizations, right?
They do.
None of them have pulled their gear. Nothing has happened. So what's really going on? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this unfolds. Time will tell.
All right. So I think it's time to move on. And I think it's time of the show to do some trivia. So
let's do trivia. I love it.
We're going to do some trivia again. We've been having fun with this. But I will say that we've had one particular outlier in trivia. There's a person. There's been like a certain, what is it? The mode, right? There's like mode, median, mean. Right. There's someone disrupting the average. Yeah.
Who's the mode here, who has a much higher frequency than the others of winning and accuracy. So
I think that we're going to call today's segment, we're going to rename it Today. Not overall, but we're going to rename it Today. Are you smarter than a Donald?
There you are.
There you are. So yeah, Donald Sharp has won all of our trivia so far, right?
That's right. That's right. All of the undefeated trivia. Yep.
All right. So somebody needs to take Donald to task here and kick him out of his high. His high
I love the chat. He says, "Rut-row, LOL." F me.
Oh, that's
all right,
awesome.
guys. Let's get in there. Let's get some players. Let's go.
That's right. So it's up there. The pin is up there. Go ahead and go to kahoot.it. There's your pin to join. Everyone who's watching is welcome to join. Tony, are you playing along today too?
I'm gonna jump in just because I like to do the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know. I have an unfair lead, so I won't take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We give everyone a minute. Laz just posted in the Slack. He's missing this live stream. He's a manager now. He's a manager now.
He's the manager.
He's got to be all serious. Zenominator.
All All right, we got some players. I definitely
All
see
right.
some familiar names. We got Jair, Andre's in here, Jermudgeon, Tom. I don't know. Who's Tom? Is this our, I don't know if you're in the chat.
Yeah, Tom, shoot us a
see Scott.
message. I know several
Which Tom?
Toms. Yeah, which Tom? Andre in there. Yeah, that's good. Mark's in there. Good.
All right, Mark, awesome.
All right.
Yeah, this is going to be a good game. Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
looking forward to it. All right. I'll give it just one more minute.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I went out.
Hey, wait, don't you have some music queued up?
I did.
For,
I
for
went
the
out.
game?
I was just gonna say I went out and I found
Yeah.
some mood music. Tom Askier. So Tom, if that's your full name as a username, I am not familiar. It's nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here. So let's so yeah, we'll get some music going. So we have to duck it out a bit. Okay.
Yeah. That's good trivia music. Absolutely.
So
I am
Andre,
so in trouble.
Andre said there's like a 10-second delay for him, which is true for everybody. And so the questions we have specifically are set to 30 seconds. Everyone's running with a delay. So unless you're running with 10 seconds of latency to your ISP, you should be able to compete. And this week is random. So just didn't have a ton of time, so it was just finding some random questions. So
Yep. I don't know which questions you put in here. We'll see. But if you used any of the ones that I brought in, you can thank my mother-in-law.
oh, nice.
I was over at her house today. You know, we have a COVID double bubble. You know, so we've
Double
extended
bubble. Yes.
our bubble of safety over to their house, and I was like, you know, hey, I do this trivia thing on live stream. Do you guys got any good trivia I can use?
Nice.
So we all sat around and came up with some goodies.
All right, let's get it started. All right.
Oh, that's a good one. Everyone knows
Lorem ipsum.
Lorem Ipsum.
Anyone who's designed a website or done anything with graphic design has had to step in with Lorem Ipsum to fill some space, right?
Yeah, the placeholder. Absolutely.
That's right.
Man, some answers came in quick. I don't know if they're on a delay or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if different streaming platforms
Have different delays, like they're gonna have an
have
advantage
different
if you're on
delays.
Twitch or
Yeah,
something.
like if you're on Twitch, you got the advantage, or Periscope or something.
All right. Good start. Good start.
Cool. All right.
All right, Tom taking the lead. Very nice.
Woo!
All right, so this is as compared to people who speak it natively. Is it 4 times the number of people? Is it 2 times? Is it 1/3? Is it 1/2? These are who use English as a second language compared to people who are first language English speakers.
I haven't got a clue.
That was kind of the point.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Yeah, there was some in there. See, look at that distribution. Very nice. 3, you got it right.
Wow.
Preston taking the lead. Jermudgeon moving up as well. Jeremy.
Well, there's not a big point spread between fifth
No.
and second. Wow,
No.
that's tight.
Competitive. All right.
I can't pronounce that.
Triskaidekaphobia?
Yep. What Jordan said.
Sure. I'm guessing.
So what I try to do to not give myself an advantage is I wait for this timer on our feedback to hit like 1, and then we see, you know, when everyone else gets it.
All right. Got a couple people who got it right. Oh, Jeremy taking the lead. Oh, that was a big one. Lots of shift there.
Yikes.
All right. Let's Bit of an epic opening here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like this song. Yeah, I
Little
feel
bit
like
of
something's
drama.
about to happen. Yeah. And Jair says this is tough today.
All right. Well, more than. All right. Oh, look at that, Tom. I mean, I like it. The lead is changing. People are in. This is good. All right. Here we go. A real technical question. IP protocol of ICMP.
Finally.
Finally. Not random trivia from the internet.
You know, this
All
actually
right.
sounds like a song that I know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's royalty free. So you listen to a lot of royalty free music that's out there.
Oh, definitely. That I can't stop it. So switching between that and the elevator station.
Yeah, is that what it is? Tom is on fire. Answer streak of 3. Look at him. All right. Nicely done, Tom. All right. More cordless mouse action. This is your mother-in-law.
No, sadly, these were actually
That was
the
you.
ones I came up with. Yeah.
Oh, man. I gave you the out.
It was me.
Yeah, look, a couple
Okay.
answers in there pretty
Okay.
quick.
So the song that this sounds like is Call My Name by Ra.
Yeah? So I'm
right.
gonna have to listen to it.
Yeah. It's like,
just
can
see
you
if
call
the
my
guy-
name or call my name?
You see if the guy who wrote it for the royalty-free ripped it off.
Yeah, if he just like ripped off like the overall
Yeah,
theme
the
of the
theme,
music
yep.
and synthesized it.
All right, what happened here? Tom's still on fire.
All right, I'm really trying to bail out of the top 5. I'm trying because I have an unfair advantage. I don't want to take
Well,
someone's
it's not going to
spot.
count if you're in there anyway, but
I know, but someone should have the rights to be on
to
the
have
board.
their name
not
on
me.
there. Yeah, all right, fair enough. All right, this is current events. How many Super Bowls has Tom Brady played in?
The options are 9, 10, 11, and doesn't matter. He cheats.
So selecting which answer was right was kind of hard on this one. Do I pick the one that's real or do I pick the cheat answer? Oh, somebody went for the cheat answer. Pretty evenly distributed. All right. Tom is like, well, he was a streak of 4 last time, so maybe he's I don't know. This is your question. This is a
Okay,
bit of an
this one-
ominous. This is a bit of an ominous quote.
All right, this one came from my mother-in-law. True story.
Of all the quotes you pick, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, and then it went into a whole research project of where that saying originates and why it and what its deeper meaning is. And
Nicely done. All right.
Tom?
Okay.
Wait,
Tom living out.
did he hack our database or something? Does he? Does he
don't know.
the answers?
I don't know. Because he's killing it. He's yeah. Back to technical questions. Do you like my meme on this one?
That's the look I give when so this question. Seriously. Yeah, this loop has some good mixes in it. I thought it was going to be like just 2 songs back and forth. There's like
No.
4 I'm counting so
I'm
far.
on it, man. I don't do anything halfway.
Thank God.
All right. Although I don't think the loop is long enough for both, so we will hear some of them again, but there's enough variety. All right. Some people moving back up towards Tom.
Andre, I hope you got that last one correct. You tell me in the chat if you got that one wrong, and then we need to have a study session.
I love this meme.
Oh. Also, I have no idea. Wait. I think do I know this one?
I don't know. Do you?
Look,
only one person went for it. I tried to give a hint with the centaur thing. Mythical creature, all the rest of them are real. It is a unicorn. All right.
Look, real talk, I want to tell you guys, there's an awesome little documentary show called Secret Scotland. They've had 3 seasons. It's released by, I think, BBC or something over there in the UK. And dude, it's just awesome. It's this comedian. She goes out, Susan Calman, and she does cool behind the scenes stuff at all these castles and palaces, and just has a blast. And it was just cool. And she does a lot with animals, and she does all these things. That's why I'm I think maybe I've seen something.
Maybe you know
what the
maybe
national animal was.
All right, go to the next one.
I'm gonna guess. I know it's a lot, but I don't know how much is a lot.
Size of the universe gets a little massive. It's hard to keep scale. Yeah, somebody has the straight line to the quiz, and I'm not sure how they do because there's an answer quickly. Look at that.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Mine was a guess, but I got it right.
Oh, nice. All right. Still a game. We got 2 more to go. Yeah. Oh, 12 and 13, yeah.
All right. I'm going to just keep doing this. I'm going to do this every time I can. There's a really awesome documentary movie, full-length movie. And I believe it's called... I think it's called The Number 13, and it's about a girl who found the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton. Nice. And about how they fought over who actually owns it because it was sort of found in a border, and it was really cool. It was all about the film crews were there about how they preserved it and transported it and rebuilt it. It took years and years.
Nice. Well, in this case, Canadians do it better. They have the biggest one so far. All right, last question, and they're Jeremy's in striking distance, so let's see what happens here. I liked this question. This is not Tony's question.
That's a Monty Python back there?
Yep. It's only a flesh wound. It's merely a scratch.
All right, I try to get it down to the wire.
3 people got it right. A truel. That's what it's called. I loved it. Truel. All right. Jeremy did it at the very last minute. Sneaks ahead.
Wait a second. Wasn't Tom sitting there on top?
Almost the whole game.
He was on fire. Yeah.
Almost the whole game.
Yeah,
and
wow.
Jeremy came out of nowhere. They both got 7 out of 13, which is impressive. Very, very nicely done.
And Xenominator.
5 out of 13 is still pretty good. It's
And I believe that's Donald, right? It's got to be.
Is the Nominator? Yeah, it has to be. Mr. Gnome himself. Mr. Gnome himself, yeah. So
I would say I'm a little disappointed. I thought we were going to have a world champion just take the belt. We were going to get one of those wrestling belts made that were collective trivia, and he would be holding it up like Hulk Hogan.
So you were expecting Donald to defend his heavyweight title of the world type thing, yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
All right. Well,
Right.
that means we have to have a head-to-head with a couple of winners.
Right. So the way this works, and we got 2 new winners here, is we want to bring you on the show. And when I say on the show, we want you on video, audio, the whole works. Here in a few minutes, we're going to have the final round. It's much shorter. It's only 5 questions. Donald's complaining. He's saying it was not very networking heavy. And Donald, you are absolutely correct. I reserved the networking heavy questions for the final, which, by the way, I've done every trivia so far that was just as networking heavy as the first 2 were. But Donald doesn't like it because he didn't win. Where's the sound effect? The trombone. So Jeremy, I'll shoot you a message in the Slack with connection info, and then Tom, if you could shoot me an email. It's my first name, JORDAN @networkcollective.com. And if you shoot me an email, I will get you connection info via the email. Now, we learned something last week. It requires you have a camera. That was our problem from last week. So you have to have a camera, and you have to have a microphone to be able to connect. But we'd love to have you on. Go head to head in a short little trivia bout coming up here very, very soon. Oh. That's the Tom. It's Tom from Unimis. I had no idea.
Okay.
I had no idea.
That makes sense.
Awesome. All right. Good deal. Excellent.
And no wonder he was nailing the networking questions and also random information too.
Random information too. Oh, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Okay. So I'll get that information out to you guys. So Tony, it is my understanding that you've prepared something for show and tell. our demo segment here. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. But I'm just now getting logged into the screen share, which I always like to do late, fashionably late, and not well prepared.
Okay.
So let me see. I should be sharing the correct screen right now.
All right.
And
I see it coming up.
you
Yep.
should be able to see the feed. Yep. So we can go ahead and roll with that.
All right. So you're ready to go. I'm going to let you go.
Yeah. So this is what we like to do is I like to try and share either some cool tools or some cool sites, some of my favorite bookmarks, and things that I have found useful across the internet. And this is a site that I have found extremely useful. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit more here. Really useful for studying TLS. This is, and I'll get Jordan to share the link. I can't post the link in the chat, the YouTube chat blocking, but this is really awesome. So what this does is this walks through the packet exchange between a client and a server and the contents of that package at every packet and every byte level. So this is really, really awesome for troubleshooting, right? I think most of the network connections you see going out, egressing out of an enterprise and hopefully coming in if you're hosting anything, are going to be TLS encrypted. In fact, most protocols are just bolting on TLS on top just to encrypt their payloads. So it's become, a pretty ubiquitous way of encrypting traffic. And it also provides, I was going to say authentication. It's not really authentication, but the certificates prove who you are if you're hosting a server. So this is broken down for TLS 1.2 and 1.3. And I learned about this site a long time ago, but I found it most useful when I went to SharkFest last year. They held the conference virtually, and I took one of the pre-conference bootcamp tracks, which was all on TLS. And it was super, super helpful to see this, how it's broken down and what is contained within each one. So this is interactive. So if you click on the client hello, it pops down all of the bytes. And as you hover over each one, it sort of highlights the text and tells you what that component is at the byte level. So this is like what you would see when you open a TLS session in Wireshark. So obviously, when you open a TLS session in Wireshark sort of pre-parses a lot of this information out for you. But if you didn't have that available, or if you just wanted to do some research, this is really an awesome way to do it. Again, if you click this button right here, the annotations, it will go ahead and break down what each field is and sort of what its meaning. So while Wireshark is good for looking at a trace file or a packet capture, and the contents within, you might not know what the other options could be for that field. And that's exactly why this site is so useful. And this kind of breaks it all down. And I found it really useful. And there's some differences, right, between TLS 1.2 and 1.3. And so he has a 1.3 site as well. So this guy's domain, I'm going to butcher the name, but it's like alfheim.net. TLS12 / TLS12. And if you want to get to the 1.3 site, I'll show that next. You just do TLS 1.3. And I believe this entire project is hosted on GitHub, so it can easily be updated. So anyone that wants to go over to GitHub and update what some of the bytes are, the fields mean, if you have something, a different way of explaining something, you can update it there. So I'm going to click annotations just on this first one. And you can kind of see how it's broken down here. TLS sessions are broken into sending and receiving of records, which are blocks of data with a type, a protocol version, and a length. So this sort of breaks down that this is the type, right? This is the first byte. The protocol version, in this case, it says protocol version 3.1, also known as TLS 1.0. So that's kind of like misleading, right? When you see 3.1, you might automatically think that's TLS 1.3, but it would actually be TLS 1.0 in this case. And then the bytes 00A5, decimal 165 bytes of a handshake. That's how many bytes of the handshake message follows. So it's really cool. And this goes and breaks down the entire field. I'm not going to read all of these, but I just wanted to show you sort of how to navigate this site and how useful it is. The server hello sort of breaks down what's in the server hello. So this is really interesting when you're starting to study and when you're starting to look at TLS traffic. Most people know, the question when you go to an interview and someone says, hey, when you open a web browser and you type in Google, give me as much detail as you want and you can sort of explain to me what goes on. If you're talking with someone that has that packet level knowledge, they'll at least get to the point where there's a TCP three-way handshake. And if you're dealing with an HTTP connection, that's going to be the fourth packet, right? Is going to be an ACK, and it's going to be the GET request. And that's where you're getting / from the host, google.com. But when you're dealing with TLS, your fourth packet is the client hello, and your fifth packet should be income server and server hello. So that's sort of like, what I see when I try to recognize this sort of visually without using yeah, that's one way to do it. I see Preston Roberts put in the chat, alfheim.net. Anytime I try to paste links, it doesn't let me. I think YouTube has a filter for pasting links.
Yeah, I'm going to have to investigate that and see if we can't get links in there eventually. But yeah, for now, thank you, Preston, for doing that.
Yep, and this is TLS 1.2. I hope you guys can see that, and then TLS 1.3, obviously, for the next one, and I will go through that next. So this is really cool. The server hello. Again, I'm not going to break all this down. You guys are capable of reading it, but it's a really cool site, and you're able to sort of analyze the connection. Really helpful also if you're looking at a PCAP side by side. So pull this up on one of your monitors, PCAP on the other, or split screen, and it's really, really cool. And as we get more and more into TLS, right, I think right now we would say that like most enterprise services, TLS is the norm, especially with, what's that service that does the free TLS certs for everybody? Someone help me out. No, not Certbot. Well, it's
Certbot, but Certbot is the application that sits behind it. It's a team up with the EFF and a couple of others, right?
Why can I not
think of the name either?
I'm drawing an absolute blank. Anyhow, my point was that TLS is becoming the absolute norm, and with what is it called? my mind won't let me move past this point.
Let's encrypt. Preston,
thank you
with the diving.
Thank you, Scott.
Save again.
Thank you.
Yeah, Scott Hamilton got it as well.
With everything being TLS encrypted, especially in the enterprise, it's important for people to understand these components, because when things go wrong, you need to understand what part isn't working and why is it not working. So definitely, I like to familiarize myself as much as I can. And soon we're going to be doing a breakdown, hopefully with QUIC. And that's going to be very cool because QUIC kind of changes the game for how we do this. QUIC has its own implementation of TLS, so it's very cool. It doesn't follow this this model at all. So let me just hop over to the TLS 1.3 site. Here we are. And again, this is 1.3. This is a little bit of a different exchange. So you'll see a couple of different fields and a couple of different packets in the conversation, but there's a lot of the same information here. TLS 1.3 is one of the things that introduces encrypted server name indication, the ESNI. Which is something that's really cool. Right now, if you have like a next-gen firewall and you're not doing break and inspect on your TLS, what they're doing is they're looking at the SNI of a packet, the server name indicator. And that's typically where it's going to be a host name. That's how your application tells the network that this is the host you want to actually connect to. And in TLS 1.3, there's an option to actually encrypt that field as well. And so that's one of the things that changes it. I know because I spend all my time, looking at packets and network visibility. And so when you see encrypted ESNI, you are really in the dark. you have to do like a mandatory proxy. And in fact, you can't passive proxy 1.3 right now. So anyhow, super, super useful site. I use it a ton, and it's one of my favorite bookmarks. So I have a couple of folders up here for different things, and depending on what I'm doing, I bookmark both these sites. They're right there anytime I need them on my personal computer, on my work computer, and I suggest you guys do the same. So that's my tip for today. Alfheim.net, TLS 1.2, TLS 1.3. Go bookmark those sites now. Nice. All right, back to you, Jordan.
Back to me. We're getting everyone connected. I see.
Okay,
I see
cool.
Jeremy's connected. Thomas is not connected yet. So we'll give him just a couple minutes while we're waiting. And I need to get these things up so that we don't see the pins on the displays. Lesson learned from their trial run. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah.
All right.
So Tony, you seem to have a ton of these tools. You've just been collecting them over time. Like, how do you find these things? Like, what is kind of your process?
Yeah. So, gosh, actually, I kind of feel like a tool hoarder. Every time I find like a good resource, sometimes someone will like curate a list. I'm one of those people who's like, oh my gosh, I need to know all of these tools. But really what I tried to do is just sort of distill down to ones that I actually use and that are super useful. If you remember back earlier in our streams, we did Regex 101. That one is super useful, and that opened up, even some more tips from the people in chat here. Was talking about the extension, the browser extension of Regex 101 is useful for offline work. So people will recommend me tools. People will show me resources, and I'll just collect them. And often it'll be something that I'll like help people out with at work. Someone will ask me a question, and they'll be like, "Hey, I'm having trouble with this thing," or what is it? I'm like, "Go use Regex 101, or use this TLS reference website, just pull this up," and it'll be an instant like, "Oh my God, thank you." You know what I mean? These are just really great resources that people have taken the time to put out there that I absolutely love. So I got a ton of stuff. I mean, I have them sort of broken down: packet research, PKI and SSL. There's a ton of stuff. Bad SSL is a great website tester I use. This one, XCA, if you want to probably work in your own lab or stand up your own CA for doing real TLS, but managing your own CA, not going with Let's Encrypt and not doing a self-sign, even though a CA really is self-signed. It allows you to set the CA and then an intermediate signer and then sign certificates with that. So it sort of gives you the whole chain of trust. And that's a super cool tool on GitHub. You can grab it. Yeah, I collect a bunch of this stuff and it's super useful. I mean, I don't know. Every once in a while, I like to share that stuff. It's one of those things where like you go on Twitter. Actually, I've gone back in my Twitter feed before and been like, someone shared a link with me 6 months ago. I remember it was super cool. I need to find it, and it became one of those things that like now I disciplined myself, create the bookmarks and the folders and keep them with you. And that's the best way to do it.
So we have a couple of questions here, Tony. So there was a question here. Does it break HTTP 2 for multiple? Do you know the answer to that?
Does TLS 1.3?
Yeah, I don't have the context because I was working in the background. I just saw the question, so I thought I'd put it up here. So Preston, if you can provide a little bit more context on what you were looking for from a question there, maybe we can follow up on that one later. And then there's a couple up here. I love this one from Scott. It says, here we go. If you need regex to solve a problem, you now have two problems.
That's right. I think I saw that on a meme recently, right? It's like every time I've solved a problem with regex, I've learned regex.
Right. And then, honestly, Scott, if you need a regex to solve a problem, you have probably have more than two problems. Here's a good hint, or a good suggestion. Use hashtags to mark those posts. So if you, you create your own hashtag that you can follow up with and just reply to it with your hashtag, and then you can search your hashtag idea. And go find it. That's really smart, actually.
I think my hashtag will be thanks, Scott. Now, anytime I want to find an old link, I'll just look up thanks, Scott. Who's the guy who told me to do this? Thanks, Scott.
So we had Thomas on, and then he went dark there for a second, but we'll...
okay. What does Preston say? With TLS1 validation step with the encrypted packets. Does it break HTTP 2? No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But every time you reach out to a new domain, you're making a new request.
Right.
You're making a new encrypted request. What HTTP 2... Well, first of all, TLS is just an encryption mechanism. What HTTP2 allows you to do is to multiplex multiple streams through one connection. Whereas HTTP1, every resource you needed to fetch, that your browser needed to fetch, was a new HTTP GET. Whether it was an image, whether it was a JavaScript, whether it was HTML, everything was multiple TCP connections, three-way handshakes, the whole deal. What HTTP2 allows us to do is to sort of multiplex a lot of things through a single TCP connection. So that's still through a single TLS connection. But those resources have to be co-located on that endpoint, right? I can't go get a JavaScript from here and an image from here and text from here, all through the same TCP. Yeah, no problem, Preston. And in fact, that's one of the things that Quick solves. Quick is UDP, and as a way to distribute web content, is it allows you to multiplex web content, but you got to take packet loss into account, right? If you're multiplexing in TCP and you lose a packet, you've lost all of the chunks of that, right? So now you have to keep retransmitting those entire bits for everything. In UDP, we're able to just send certain parts to multiplex them differently. And it makes it very, very cool, much more efficient. And again, I believe it's still using TLS 1.3, its own implementation of TLS 1.3. Hopefully we get a deep dive of that soon. I think Jordan and I are talking to someone who can hopefully come on here and drop some awesome knowledge with Quick.
Absolutely. All right, we've got everyone here, so I'm going to bring them in. Hey guys, Jeremy, Thomas, can you guys hear me all right? I've got a thumbs up. I've got a thumbs up. So,
yeah, definitely.
All right, Thomas. I'm sorry I didn't know it was you. I didn't recognize it from your handle on YouTube, but it's good to have you. What time is it for you? I know you work on U.S. time, but you are not anywhere near the U.S.
Yeah, it's about 3 a.m. right now.
Oh man, that is.
Wait a second, and Jeremy, what time is it for you?
It is just after 5 o'clock. I'm in
5
Alaska.
p.m. because he's in Alaska.
5 p.m.
Right, it's 5
p.m.
And Tom, where are you? Which country? I'm just trying to put you guys on the globe. Where are you?
Slovakia.
Okay, yeah, so we're talking half a globe away. Same
Pretty
hemisphere, but okay.
So I would say that Tom had worse latency than anybody else and still crushed trivia. That's pretty impressive because this live stream is definitely coming from the East Coast of the U.S., right? So Jeremy had a slight advantage there. So that was impressive, Tom. All right. So first we got to get the mood music going. But if you guys are ready, let's do it. All right. It's impossible not to groove, right, Tony? We just got this.
Yeah, I can't help it.
All right. Very, very fast. That was quick.
That was quick.
All right. Thomas taking the lead. Not networking.
Oh man, I don't have a clue. No, I don't know.
It's the two closest to the sun, if
I
you're
already
wondering.
promised to lose the networking ones, but I may lose everything else. Yes.
All right.
Unfortunately, I don't get points for being right about being wrong.
I have no idea on this one.
Oh, this is all Tony. If you don't like the multicast IP protocol questions, you can point at him.
Yep, that's me.
Yep. All right.
Because if you're listening to this, or you're part of this live stream, or you're part of our community, you should either A, know it, or now you've learned it. So,
and this is my take. We've had this conversation. My take was this: is all these specifics are things that I have just dismissed. In that I can look that up. I don't need to memorize it. It's not something I got to keep in my long-term memory. And so I would have missed that question too. So that's just me. All right. VLANs.
That says 801.1Q. There's a typo there.
802.1Q. Yeah, that's a typo. 802.1Q. I don't know what 801.1Q is or if it exists, but it's not that. That's not what we're talking about.
It's not that.
Jeremy, man, you got one more. You got one more. All right, here we go.
Gotta be really fast on the last one.
Speed of light. And the meme, it says you matter. You're trying to read it. Oh, you got it right.
There we go.
Very nice. Very nice.
And the scores are.
Well, Thomas had it after the third question. But Jeremy, very nice in the last one, making up some ground. You guys are awesome.
Put an easy one in there.
Hey, you have to hit the
yeah. I forgot you don't have access to the Gotta wait. Well done.
Perfect,
so, guys,
perfect.
Thanks for coming on. So Thomas, you are now the second ever weekly winner of Network Collective Trivia. So here's the thing, though. At the end of the month, we are going to get all of the winners together and kind of do a heads up trivia thing. So if you can make it the last Wednesday of this month, right now you could play against Donald, which I don't necessarily advise it because he's done so well so far. But you could play against Donald. Just want
to make sure you know the last Wednesday of the month is next Wednesday.
Oh, is that next Wednesday?
1
already?
week from today.
One week from
February.
today.
Short
so
month.
Thomas, if you feel like staying up until 3 o'clock in the morning again, and if not, Donald can just take it. I completely understand. But nicely done. Or, we'll see how it plays out. But guys, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing that. Thomas, it's really good to see you. We probably should catch up. But yeah, and Jeremy, we talk all the time. So
not to be dismissed or anything.
No. So yeah. So
Keep
all
doing
good.
these. Maybe there'll be time for a rematch someday.
That's right. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for jumping on and participating with us. All right.
Wow, I'm impressed that I mean, is this not like an awesome time to be living? Here we got two guys on the opposite ends of the globe participating in a real-time trivia through a live stream. I mean, come on.
So to that end, my wife is really into the show This Is Us. And I'm sure if you have wives or girlfriends, it's pretty popular amongst the women that I know, at least. And so that was on last night, and my wife came up after we did a recording last night, Tony and I, and after it was done, I was talking to my wife, and she's like, "Oh, you've got to know what they did on this show," and I thought it was super cool. So one of the things they do on the show, and I swear this is technical. I'm not just talking about This Is Us randomly, but they do what they do is they'll like introduce a new character, and they'll take a while to kind of like figure out or introduce where they belong. because the show is on several different timelines. There's the past, there's the current, there's the recent past, and you never really know until you really know the characters at what point in the timeline you're on. And I'm saying all of this, and I'm probably getting half of it wrong because I've watched like half of 2 episodes.
Yeah, there's a bunch of wives sitting next to our viewers
who are like, you're getting all of this wrong.
Tell that guy he's wrong. He's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not how it works at all.
So they do this where they'll introduce a new character, but you may not understand what their relation is to everybody else for a while. Maybe even an episode or 2. So last night they introduced a new character, and it was completely independent of all the other story arc. But the other story arc is there's a woman who's pregnant and she's delivering her baby. Her husband's trying to get to her, and while he's trying to get to her, he's using the phone or something to call her. The mom is all the way across the country, so she's trying to do it. The friend is staying on with his wife through video chat, and there's like basically it was very much the world during COVID, right? Like everyone couldn't necessarily be there or where they needed to be, so they were using whether it be Zoom or FaceTime or whatever to stay in touch with people in these important moments in time. And that was kind of the theme of the show amongst the main characters. And then there's this other character and his wife, and it's like completely random. Turns out the story arc of this other character is the guy who invented the compression algorithm that was used for like MPEG and whatever. And they were highlighting him because of his contribution to society decades ago, which enabled things like video chat and real-time communication across the internet to happen. And it was their way of tipping their hat to him. And then they had like a back and forth between the writers of the show and him. And I thought, like, that's something that we would do as Network Collective, right? Like we would go and highlight somebody who did something that was a big contribution to technology. We had History of Networking for a long time where we talked to the people who created a lot of this stuff. But you wouldn't expect it from like one of the most popular drama-based TV shows and I thought it was really cool. Like, someone like us, an engineer, a guy who was like really into like the bits and bytes and a mathematician, right? Really, who really had a significant impact that enabled all of us to stay in touch through a pandemic, and they kind of tipped their hat to him. And I thought that was really, really stinking cool of a show to do that, to kind of go find the guy who invented that, who enabled that, who made that happen. And of course, no one person is, because people build on previous discoveries and whatever, but he was significantly responsible for the compression algorithms that we use for video and audio, which enable us to do what we're doing right here. Speaking of being on opposite ends of the globe. So I thought that was really cool. So, kudos to them for doing that, for calling that out. Yeah.
That is a neat little tidbit. And I think that's great. I wonder, was that like cleverly placed to like hit the demographic of like the engineering husband?
I don't know. I have a lot more respect
placed
today
marketing
than I did 2 days ago.
You know what? We got to scoop up the other side of this demographic. There's way too many wives watching this show.
Right. And so maybe that was it. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool that you see the highlight like that. And it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to mention his name. He actually got like a plot line in the show, and at the end of the show, like a 5-minute conversation to kind of like say thanks and to call out the contribution, which was really neat. All right. So on that note, I think it's time for your favorite segment. You ready?
Oh. Let's get everyone ready. Hang on. We got to loosen up. All right. Come on. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
All right. In case you guys haven't seen it, there's a big production. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
That is got to be one of my absolute favorite things. Absolutely it is. All right. So this is Naked Hardware. Naked Hardware is the part of the show where I share with you guys an image of a networking piece of hardware, be it a router, a server, a firewall, a switch, or some other component. We haven't had any access points yet, but hopefully we get some. And we strip the cover off, we break it out of its chassis, and we take a picture of it. And I try to cover up all the serial numbers and barcodes and logos. We take a picture of it and we share it on social media. And you guys try to figure out what it is based on the circuitry alone. So right now I have last week's image up on the screen. This was an image that was given to us by community member Preston Roberts. Woo! Everybody clap for
Thanks, Preston.
It was really awesome. So I had been carrying this segment. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been carrying this segment for a long time with my own cache of images. And finally, when I ran short, community members stepped up and provided me with lots of images to pull from. So this was a great one. This one was last week. Thank you, Preston. So this one, I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. I'm just going to talk about. You guys should know what this is. I had to look at it a little bit, and I had a valid guess before Preston had spilt the beans to me privately as he was sharing the images with me. But I would say this piece right here is definitely one, if you started off with like a CCNA rack gear at your home, you bought it off of Craigslist or some old warehouse, or you were pulling them out of racks, right? That's what this is. It's one of those pieces. So I'll give anyone in chat an opportunity to post an answer if you haven't already done so in Twitter. I've already picked my winners for the day, but if you want to go ahead and do it, I know we're on about a 10-second delay. So I'm just going to check the chat.
Yeah, while we're waiting for the chat, Tony, before you reveal it, I'm not going to look at the chat. I'm going to move off the chat now so you can watch the chat. But I want to guess. Because this one had me a little stumped, and I had to go searching, and there's a couple things about it that led me astray, but I think I've got it. And so I want to.
Okay. I tell you what, let's talk through it right now. So what components were you looking at? Where do you think your guess is putting you? So what stands out? Walk me through it.
Okay. So the thing that I'm looking at that stands out is the fan. Right. And so the fan, the offset fan, and the fact that they've built it like an encasing, it made it look like that was exposed. But I don't think that's exposed. I think that the plastic chassis still goes around the outside on a regular corner. And so I was looking for something that had kind of like an indented inlet or egress there where the fan was. And in this case, I don't think that's true. I think that it was plastic casing around that corner that you wouldn't have seen it unless you took the casing off. Now, the other thing that led me astray is in the top left corner. So there's a connection points for something, like to plug that board into something. And so I was thinking expansion slot. I was thinking whatever. There's nothing there. It's again completely covered up. So my guess is that expansion or that slot, those connections are for development, debug, troubleshooting. They're meant to be there, but they aren't meant for the purposes of expansion from the board itself. Once I got past those two things, then it was the LEDs on the back that kind of gave it away, or at least I think gave it away.
All right, so there's a bunch of LEDs back here. All right.
Right, and that's kind of unique. And then the size kind of gave me an indication of probably where it sat from a family perspective. Like what type of device? Is this a firewall? Is this a router? Is this, like that type of thing?
Right. Because in the past we've done things like tabletop gear. Like I had a little Pix 501, it's a small one, and I've had with large rack mount gear as well. So looking at the size sort of helps you identify: is this a rack mount thing? Is this a table mount? Where does this go? Okay.
Yeah, and so I think that was one of those. That was a differentiator for me. For sure.
So what did you deduce yourself to as far as an answer?
I want to say, now I'm questioning because I had it in my head. I want to say an 1841, Cisco 1841 router. But I don't know if it's it's an 1800 series router, I think. But I may be wrong.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do the reveal. Let's pencil you in for a valid guess. 1845, 1800 series. All right, so this was the image I shared last week, and let's see, this is last week's, and our answer was right
1801.
Here. 1801. All right.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, the 1801. Because I was thinking 1841 in my head, and then I went to look it up, and I didn't see the LED. So 1801, sure.
Yeah, the
Yeah, that's it.
1801. So you're correct with the 1800 series family.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't know which one it was. Yeah, that's it. So 1801. All right. So did we have any correct answers?
We didn't have any correct answers. We had some close answers. We had some close answers. So I went ahead and took some screenshots of our close answers. So I think we have some folks watching in chat. In fact, we only had 2 people participate this time. So if anyone wants to participate in this, when you see me release the photo after this live stream, I'm going to post it on the Network Collective Twitter. Go ahead and retweet that out. Let's get it out there for maximum visibility. We want to get as many guesses as we can. So let me show you.
I'm going to be honest. I was a little bummed that there weren't people participating because we came out with a cool new prize, and now we can't send it to anybody.
So our 2 best guesses
So we got
were
Laz. That's a little
Laz.
small. Can you zoom that in at all?
Yep, sure can. Yeah, here.
I can also make it bigger here.
Yeah, right here. I can do it.
Okay.
All right, Laz with the 1811. Solid guess. Actually, I don't know what the difference is between the 1801 and the 1811. I'm sure we could pull it up and do a side-by-side, but I'm actually not off the top of my head. I don't know what the difference is side by side. And next to that, hang on, let me do this. Okay, that's not what I wanted to do. That's fine. And then, of course, Chris Cummings. I'll try to make that a little larger. Looks like a Cisco 1811 ISR. So again, right there in the 1800 ISR family. But 1801, unless I'm steered wrong. But it says right here on the faceplate, if I can bring that sucker up. Right there. 1801, guys.
So I went back to my because I was chatting with Chris Cummings about it, because when he posted 1811, I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. So I had 41 stuck in my head, but I went back. Sure enough.
Yeah, very cool. So this was a great router if you were messing with a CCNA kit before the 2500s, or maybe not before the 2500s. This would have been the same sort of time frame.
Post 2500s, right? 2500s.
Yeah, the 2500s. And you would have gotten one of these guys. I know I had a rack of 2500s personally, 2600s as well.
Yep.
All right, so that wraps up last week. So no winners. But I was going to say
coffee cups for me.
I was going to say before we show what this week's Naked Hardware Challenge is going to be, do you want to do a close up on what the prize can be? I mean, if you're going to be the first person to answer correctly on this next one, you could have a very unique prize, a very special prize. You could be the first person to receive this prize. Epic fail.
I know you didn't tell me you were going to do this.
I know. I just figured you surrounded yourself with swag.
With pictures of No, all of the boxes of coffee cups, coffee mugs are downstairs. I put one in the Slack. I might be able to pull one up here if you give me 2 seconds. If you can stall long enough.
Yeah, that's sure. That's great. Yeah. So as part of growing this live stream and everything, we wanted to make this segment have its own special prize, and so Jordan went and got us some commemorative coffee mugs with the Network Collective logo on one side, and our embarrassed router guy, our embarrassed router humanoid on the other side. Yeah, I don't know what else to call him. When we were working out the design, I kept saying a personified router. And so, but I kind of like router humanoid. That's kind of like what it is. And you guys will know that I penned the original sketch for this thing. I did. I penned it. And now I didn't make the graphic art, but I did pen the original one. So, but it was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun to see it sort of digitized and then put on some gear. So it was pretty awesome. There's one side of it. That's the Network Collective mug. Network
Collective logo. So that looks good all on its own. But then with the Naked Hardware logo. There it is.
The Naked Hardware logo on the other side. So if you can answer the Naked Hardware Challenge, if you can answer, just be the first one. Let's think about how easy that is. All you got to do is be the first one. And with the correct answer, you could have your very own, the very first shipped Naked Hardware coffee mug.
Yeah, I thought we'd be giving it away this week.
I thought so too.
Preston's giving me a hard time now too.
All right, let's go to this week's challenge. Do I already have it up? I do. Okay.
All right.
This is ready? This week's challenge. Yep. I'll give everyone just a brief sneak peek. I like to talk about it a little bit. And, like Jordan was saying, maybe pay attention to the scale of the board you're looking at here. I don't want to give anything too much away, but, let's get some people guessing on this thing. So I'm definitely going to post it on Network Collective, at Network Collective PC on our Twitter. And I want everyone to go ahead and retweet that. If you're watching the stream, retweet that, give yourself a guess, and let's try to get some players on this. So very cool. That's it for today. All right.
And that is it for today. That's it for the live stream today. Yeah.
I had a blast. Blast, man.
It went quick. So I'm just happy you made it to the end. I'm so tired. It's just like, yes, it's there. But no, this is a lot of fun. Even when you're tired, it's fun.
Let's do some plugs, because I think next week we're going to have a special guest on. We're planning to have a special guest on.
Sure.
That's going to drop some knowledge on us. It's going to give a TCP deep dive. Someone who I'm an absolute fan of. I've taken his trainings personally. I'll personally vouch for him if anyone wants to go that route. But you're going to get a little sneak peek, a deep dive training from Mr. Chris Greer himself, the Packet Pioneer. So if you want to get a taste of what his training's all about, you can look at the SharkFest from Wireshark on YouTube. He does presentations, I think, and he also has some great content out there on Pluralsight. So if you're a member of Pluralsight or you're interested in it, I know other folks in our community have used his Pluralsight training, so definitely go for that. He's going to be here on the live stream next week. We're going to get about 30, 40 minutes of some deep dive TCP, which is something that I absolutely love. I went through my entire CCIE program without really understanding TCP at the level that he trains at, and that kind of like, when you get your CCIE, you feel like you're up here, and then you talk to someone about like a foundational fundamental skill like TCP, and now I feel like I'm down here again. So it was super cool to sort of like start the learning process over again. And it's been, I can't tell you how helpful it's been to my career, my coworkers, and everything that I touch now. I'm able to draw from that knowledge. So super cool. So be here next week. Same time. We're going to rock it, live TCP deep dives.
Yeah, excited about that. And probably a good idea to call out or call attention to a couple of other things that have kind of been going on, right? So we started a new podcast with Riverbed a couple weeks ago. And so Riverbed is coming on, and they are doing their podcast. It's the Riverbed Technical Podcast, but rather than them kind of building everything around it, they're releasing it in partnership with Network Collective. And so there's going to be a lot of great content there around application performance and around, just general networking and optimizing cloud connectivity and a bunch of other stuff that I think is going to be really, really relevant to a lot of networkers right now. Tony, I muted you because your keyboard was going. So anyway, now you're unmuted. That's a cool new thing that's going on. Obviously, we have this Network to Code is still continuing on in that same level of partnership. They're releasing stuff with us, and we just released an episode with them with Yvonne Pepignac. It's very good. Yvonne's always someone that you would want to listen to, and so definitely that's a cool thing. Obviously, we've got this going on. Chris Greer, I'm excited about. I think there's a lot of great content there. We have an episode coming out shortly about certifications in 2021 and beyond, hoping for tomorrow, but maybe Friday. That's going to come out this week. So I'm excited about that. And then planning on, like I said, we talked about it earlier, there's going to be a show on SASE, which we're recording. And we actually have another one that's already in the bag. And so like there's quite a bit that's coming out here in the very near future. And then if I can find some time, all these videos from our live streams, we should start hitting YouTube here, hopefully in the near future, start putting these things out and getting them going. And so there's just a ton of great content in a lot of different ways. And so if you're new to what we're doing or don't know what's going on, networkcollective.com is where it's all centered around. That's where you can find what we have going on. That's the place you want to go. And then, social media too. So wherever you are, follow us, right? It doesn't really matter where that is, but we're at Net Collective PC on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. Pick your poison. Do them all if you absolutely want to. But the idea is find a place to follow us, because that's how we stay in touch with people. Let them know when new stuff is coming out and when stuff's out there. And then here on YouTube, I imagine most of the people, based off of our interaction here today, have already done this. But if you haven't, like, subscribe, follow, do all of those things. It obviously helps us in getting the word out about what we're doing, but also you get notified when we have our live streams, which have consistently been every week so far. But just with how busy things are, I would not be surprised to see that scale back a little bit here moving forward, where we're going to, have some gaps just for sanity. And so I think that just make sure that you're subscribed. So when we're there. We always put the post up before, usually with a couple days notice, to say, hey, we're going to be live on such and such a day, and you get that notification and you're good to go. So that's there. Anything else, Tony? Anything else I'm missing? Oh, supporting us. If you like what we do, we just talked about a lot of stuff. If you like what we do, and you want to engage with us even more, there's this becoming a supporter of the show. It's not super expensive. It's, I think, relatively reasonable, $5 a month. And by doing it, you help us minimize our ads, which ads aren't awful. This is sponsored by Path Solutions. Path Solutions is awesome. If you're looking for a monitoring company, you should definitely go check them out. But we don't like to inundate you with ads. And with that, by having supporters support us directly, we don't have to fill all of our shows with ads to make all this go. It's rather expensive to keep all this running. And so we do appreciate those who support us. And if you do, you get a couple perks. So you get access to our Slack. So we reserve that for people who are supporters of the show. And then you also get a feed for all of our content without ads. All of our podcast content. It's harder to do on YouTube. Sorry. The little branded, sponsored by Path Solutions will be in the corner on the videos, but we don't talk about it too much. And then you also get our merch at our cost. We don't ask for anything more on the merch because we're not double dipping. So yeah, so it's relatively inexpensive. So would you consider doing that? And I think that's it. So yeah. Lots of great content is coming out. The Slack is awesome.
The Slack is the heart and soul. It's the heart and soul of the group. Absolutely.
Yep. So that's it for tonight, Tony. So it was great. Thanks for putting together the demo and the TLS.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. The trivia was fun. You helped out on that as well. And so we'll take a break. We will definitely be coming back next week. So next week, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Join us. Let's do it again.
Yeah, I'm so excited. See you guys next week.
All right.